Welcome to Travel with Sean. I'm Sean. Today we're in Beijing, China, touring the Temple of Heaven. This whole complex, 1 acre I believe it is, was built in 1420 for the emperor to say prayers to earth and heaven, because back then it was a temple of heaven and earth. About 100 years later, around 1530, the emperor no longer worshipped the earth here. So it became the Temple of Heaven. We're going to tour around this historic complex, checking out the three main structures here. The Hall of the Prayer for Good Harvest. In that direction, we're going to walk to the Imperial Vault of Heaven, where they stored the tablets the emperor used in worship. And behind it is the Imperial Altar of Heaven, where the emperor actually prayed in the center of the universe. And I want you to stay tuned to the end, because we're going to have a performance, traditional Beijing performance, on an instrument called Kuaiban.
As we approach the first gate, it's important to point out the 3 doors, and the center door is closed. That door was always reserved exclusively for the emperor. Built in 1545, the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest was given its current name and appearance in 1751.
This is the Hall for the Prayers for Good Harvest. It is 118 feet in diameter and stands 125 feet high. It was made entirely of wood without the use of any nails. And this is where the emperor used to come to pray for good harvests.
As the Son of Heaven, the emperor came here on the first day of every Lunar New Year to intercede for the people. You'll notice that the hall and the base are both round and have 3 parts. The building has 3 eaves encircling it, and the base is made of 3 circular terraces. The significance of this is great and comes from ancient Chinese cosmology. In that philosophy, the circular shape represents heaven, and 3 was important because it represented cosmic harmony, completion, and the union of heaven, earth, and humanity. In traditional Chinese political philosophy, the emperor was considered the son of heaven, the link between heaven and earth. As the emperor ascended these 3 marble terraces, he was symbolically bridging heaven, earth, and humanity as he prayed for harmony and abundance. The Hall of Prayer for Good Harvests was specifically built for the springtime ritual, when the emperor prayed for a bountiful harvest. This took place once a year, typically around late January or February, to align with the start of the agricultural season. The emperor, after fasting and purification, would read prayers before heaven and offer symbolic crops and incense. In the middle of the hall stands a throne-like altar table, and this is where the emperor made his offerings and prayers on behalf of the people. Flanking the prayer hall are the east and west annexes. The east annex honored the celestial forces, heaven and weather, and the west annex honored the terrestrial ones, earth and harvest.
Now I've come to the gate of the Prayer for Good Harvest. It separates the Imperial Vault of Heaven and the Altar of Heaven from the Hall of prayer for good harvest. And you notice this gate has 3 doors. Central door is closed and has a sign above it. That's because it was reserved for the emperor. It's closed now, symbolic of it being reserved for the emperor. And the royal family and high officials would pass through the east door. Other lower officials would pass through the west door.
Each gate is a rectangular, roofed building, often painted vermilion red, with green and blue decorative trim, characteristic of both the Ming and the Qing dynasties. The gates act as thresholds between sacred zones. Passing through a gate was ritually significant. The emperor and his officials were symbolically moving closer to heaven as they advanced through the gates towards the circular mound, also known as the Altar of Heaven. This raised walkway is called Danbi Bridge, and it physically and symbolically linked all the zones of the Temple of Heaven. And because of this, it was also called the Sacred Way. The alignment of each building along the Sacred Way creates a central axis that they believed to represent the cosmic order, with the emperor as the Son of Heaven passing through each zone to heaven.
Just left the hall for the prayer of good harvest. Heading towards the vault of heaven, where they stored the tablets the emperor used for worship, and heading towards the Imperial Altar of Heaven. This path you see in front of me, this is the sacred way. This is where the emperor and the royal family and the officials would walk. This center path was reserved exclusively for the emperor. Anyone else walking here would be executed. And you can see there's quite a distance, and then there's a white line on both sides. There's a white line. On the other side of this white line, that is where the royal family would walk and other high officials. On the outside of that white line, that is where lower officials would walk. In between, you'd probably have imperial guards. But in the middle was only the emperor. Anyone else would be executed. Now we're approaching the Imperial Vault of Heaven. And the purpose of this place was to store the tablets used in the worship of heaven.
It's surrounded by what's called the Echo Wall, which is 11 to 12 feet high and 21 to 23 feet in diameter. It's called the Echo Wall because sound waves bounce along the curved surface, allowing it to be heard clearly at the opposite point of the wall. Danbi Bridge leads you to the north side of Echo Wall, and the gate of the Imperial Vault of Heaven is on the south side. Some of these trees are older than the United States of America. The emperor entered through this gate the night before winter solstice, offering wine and incense to heaven, with bowing and praying before the sacred tablets of heaven, sun, moon, stars, clouds, and rain. The Imperial Vault of Heaven resembles the Hall of Prayer, but is single-gabled and sits on a single-level marble platform. It has been maintained and preserved since its construction in 1530. It served as a sacred storage hall for the heavenly tablets used in winter solstice prayers. Its circular shape represents heaven, and the shimmering blue roof was meant to mirror the sky above. The east and west annex stored offerings, silk, and ritual vessels that attendants brought to the emperor to use in his rituals.
I just left the compound where the Imperial Vault of Heaven is, where they stored the tablets the emperor used in worshiping heaven, the sun, the moon, and the earth. Built in 1530 in the Ming dynasty. This was they call it the circular mound, but this was the altar of heaven. And these gates are called the Lingxing gates, commonly used for the wall around an altar. They represent memorial archways, and they're made of marble.
This is the center gate, where only the emperor could walk. The pathway that the emperor would be on leads us right to the stairs that go to the top of the altar of heaven. This was supposed to be the exact center of the universe, the heart of heaven. They believed that the earth was the center of the universe, and that this spot was the center of the earth. So all Chinese tourists want their picture taken at the center of the earth, praying to heaven like the emperors did centuries ago. At the heart of heaven, the center of the circular mound altar, I took a bow in each direction, not quite how the emperor would have done it centuries ago. Dragon carvings can be found all over on the altar of heaven. This three-tiered marble platform was originally built in 1530 and completely rebuilt in 1740 using the same design and symbolism, just with better craftsmanship. The Temple of Heaven grounds cover just over 1 square mile, with the three main structures, the circular mound, the Imperial Vault of Heaven, and the Hall of Prayers for Good Harvest, all aligned on a north-south central axis, with a Danbi Bridge connecting them. I noticed this corridor on the grounds seems to resemble the long corridor of the Summer Palace. While exploring the grounds, I came across this woman performing Kuaiban, a cultural tradition of northern China.
掏起了干草棍，棍打在了陈皮上，打的这陈皮流鲜血，可这个鲜血甩在了木瓜上，有大松丸、小松丸、胖大海、滴溜圆，狗皮膏药贴上寒。我有心接着个药名往下唱，我唱到明儿我唱不完。我唱的是祝各位身体康健，福寿双全。
After her performance, she kindly offered to teach me, passing down this important cultural art. Along with another student of hers, she showed me how to hold the bamboo clappers and keep the rhythm. It's more challenging than it looks, but it's fun trying to learn. Kuaiban blends storytelling, poetry, and music into a lively rhythmic performance. The bamboo clappers mark the beat, adding energy and emphasis to each line. Traditionally, it's used to entertain, educate, and preserve folk stories, an enduring part of Chinese cultural heritage.
引进大家我表虎，我表怀来卖豆腐，卖豆腐怀来他占先，后面的豆腐关美兰，关了也不怕豆腐卖，世上谁的荤素菜，一头小瘤一排沫，水中出才真不错，人吃豆腐猪吃渣，您这个买卖有才发。
Thank you for watching. Thank you for traveling along with me. I always appreciate your support. Until next time, 再见. Bye bye.